everyone. Today is a Cramfest episode because I have been kind of absent for the past couple of weeks or so, and there's a lot to catch you up on. I was procrastinating, and since I'm going on a trip tomorrow and I want to film while I'm there, I kind of need to catch you up before I go there. So first, let me say Happy Croatoan Day, because today, the day that I am filming this, it is still barely August 1st, 2014, which is a day in the supernatural fandom for people to write Croatoan on their arms, which, this is upside down. There you go. Alright, so the first thing on the list today is to catch you guys up on the end of my Booktubeathon-ness. I have two challenges, and just to tell you kind of where I finished in the books that I read. So the first challenge that I'm going to be showing you was the design a new book cover. The book cover that I chose to redesign is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. It is just very yellow and there's not much to it, so I decided I would redesign it, and so started reading the book because I had never read it to see what I needed to redesign it as. Halfway through, he steals a logbook, and I decided that I would make the cover of this book look as much like that logbook as I possibly could. When I finished the book, I realized that my design for it was just even more applicable. This is what I came up with. It says Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, and it has the symbol of the broken spine, hands open like a book. The second challenge that I have for you today is to write a short story using all of the words from the titles of 3 books. The titles I was given were The Knights of Bretonia, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and Other Stories, and Till We Meet Again. Here's the story that I came up with. Welcome to Wonderland, Bretonia. It's nice to meet you. My name is Cavalier. I know, you're thinking, what kind of name is Cavalier? But it is my name, so you can get over it. I am a knight. I am from an order of knights called the Survivors. Again, not the best name. When you think of an order of knights, you want something more along the lines of the Survivors, or, I like, the Domineers. If I wasn't a lowly foot soldier, that's what I would call us. Till then, we are the Survivors. And there are enough stories about us that we are well known and well feared. The Survivors go on adventures all over the world. Bretonia is just where we are right now. There's a battle going on here, you see. Now, we don't always join battles that we have nothing to do with, but sometimes we need more money. Yes, more. On one side of the battle, there is Alice. She is completely in love with David, even despite his reputation for being an arrogant womanizer. On the other side of Wonderland is David, and he was arrogant and so not interested. So Alice tried to poison him, and killed his at-the-time girl, he has moved on, instead. Alice is telling everyone that he killed her, and the locals mostly believe Alice. No, it doesn't make much sense to me either. Poison is a woman's weapon, but there you have it. Alice is paying more, so we're fighting on Alice's behalf. Alright, on to the books that I read during the Booktubeathon. I read and finished Anita Blake's Guilty Pleasures by Laurel Clay Hamilton, the graphic novel edition. I then read The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud, and I read Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. That is all the books that I finished during Booktubeathon. I also got a little ways into Sabril by Garth Nix. I started Witch Hunter by C.L. Warner, and I got a good almost 2/3 of the way through The Hobbit, which I have kind of misplaced at the moment. I also started, and did not get very far into, Fire by Kirsten Kishore. I did not complete as much as I had intended to for the Booktubeathon, and I am ashamed. But that's okay. I got a lot read this last month. And now for the July wrap-up. So the first book that I finished during the month of July was The Amulet of Samarkand by Jonathan Stroud. This was my 3rd reread of this book. I still think it is absolutely fantastic, and Bartimaeus has to be one of my most favorite characters of all time because of his sarcastic wit and snark. I then read 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. It had been recommended by a friend back in high school, and I never forgot. I just had never gotten around to reading it. I read it, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. I will say that it is not the best book that I've ever read. I did enjoy it quite a bit, and I will probably buy it. But if I do buy it, I will buy the audiobook version, because in this book, a boy receives tapes that are basically the suicide note of a girl that he had had a crush on. She's telling the 13 reasons why she killed herself, and each of these reasons is a person. And he's on that list, so he gets the tapes, and it goes through him listening to it. It's read out loud by a boy and a girl, which I think helps with the fact that in the story it switches back and forth through what the main character is listening to and what he's actually going through and doing. So I recommend the audiobook over the written one for this book. I then read Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, which was also a great book, but it had been hyped up so much that it kind of let me down a little bit through the middle. It had a very happy ending that pretty well made up for its middle, but through most of the middle I was actually rooting for the bad guy character. The first reader, I was more on his side, and it's because I figured that the books that they're writing is how they get the immortality, and if you rush through it all and there's no adventure to it, it kind of is not so exciting. And yes, so wasn't too impressed with the middle, but when he came through in the end and he had figured it out and it didn't actually involve him cheating using computers, that more than made up for the middle, and I was actually a pretty good book. Next on the list are books that you already know that I have read. It was then time for Booktubeathon, in which I read Anita Blake's Guilty Pleasures by Laurel K. Hamilton, The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud, and Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. After Booktubeathon, I took a few days off of reading and everything and kind of let it chill. I picked up The Hobbit and read a little bit more than I had during the Booktubeathon, and I continued reading Fire by Kristen Kishore and just finished it today, the last day. Well, actually, yesterday. I finished it yesterday, the last day of July. So that's it for my wrap-up. Next, we move on to my haul video, which is going to be kind of a short one, but I do have one. During Booktubeathon, I did order 3 books. I have only received 2 of them so far, but I ordered the Unwind trilogy by Neal Shusterman. He is my little sister's favorite author. She read these years ago, and she has pretty much been begging me to read them, and since I knew that I had to buy some books off of that list and use the Booktubeathon discount, I bought the trilogy. The books that I got in the mail today is Unwind by Neal Shusterman, the first book in the trilogy, and Unholy by Neal Shusterman, which is, I believe, the second book in this trilogy. I really liked these covers, and they weren't available through Walmart.com, which is how I ordered the 3rd book in my haul video, so I bought them through Booktubeathon. The 3rd and final book on my haul video is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I ordered this book because it is the book club of the month book for the Little Book Club, which is hosted by Little Book Owl. It was not the book that I voted for, but I am looking forward to reading it nonetheless because a lot of people have really, really enjoyed this. And the last thing I have for you is a little kind of announcement thing. Tomorrow is my vacation time. I am going to spend a week out of Oklahoma. I'm going to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning on the 2nd. So I'm going to go to sleep fairly soon after I get this all done. I may upload this in the morning instead of before I go to bed, while I finish doing the final packing and getting ready and drinking coffee and everything in the morning. I am going up to Michigan. It is a 17-hour drive, and we're just going to be making it as far as St. Louis, which is where I will see my mother, and you will get to meet. I will probably bring her onto the camera, if nothing else, to ask her favorite book, and you will probably also get to meet my sister. And then we're going as far as St. Louis tomorrow, and then on the 3rd we're going to make it all the way up to Michigan, which is where the family reunion is going on, and you'll probably get a chance to meet some of my extended family. I will record bits and pieces of it as much as I can because I want to share this adventure with you. And also, once we get to Michigan, I do plan on doing a book review, one that I have actually been saving for when I go up there, because when we had the last family reunion, which was 5 years ago, I picked up a book from the shelf up there in the house that we were renting. I ended up falling in love with it. I will be bringing my own copy because we're not staying in the same house, but I want to review the book in the town that I first picked it up in. I think that's all I have for you tonight. I'll try and figure out how many pages I read during Booktubeathon, and I'll put them in the description bar later. Yeah, that's all I really have for you. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.